old school orcs are those pig-faced orcs. You're going to run that as a creature's class. What features might you use? We got a bunch of comments here, so that's good. So this was submitted by Rover Buff. All right, Rover Buff says, "Hey all, I've been thinking about including the good old pig-faced orc or pork in my next BX game as a class. I'm planning on making them somewhat more present in the world as a whole, not inherently evil, and using them to round out the demi-human roster of dwarves, elves, and halflings. Good for you, Rover Buff. I want to play into their piggish traits, and so far come up with 2 abilities to give them. The first would be Smell Sense, the ability to locate other creatures, foods, plants, etc. in the vicinity by smell, and also the ability to follow one's tracks. Pigs have very good smell, so this seems fitting. Could be a useful ability to detect ambushes, see through imposters, and follow the tracks of chased creatures. The second would be Iron Stomach, the ability to eat foods considered too spoiled or gross by other peoples without issue. Perhaps I'd even allow it to be used to heal 1 HD plus level of hit points once per day. I'll see about that. This is playing into pigs' omnivorous nature, of course, but if not usable for healing, I'd simply add it as a flavor ability. However, I have the feeling that these 2 abilities wouldn't yet be enough to make the pork quote-unquote competitive with the other classes in the minds of the players. Fighters, elves, and even halflings get some really useful abilities and class traits. What do you think? Any suggestions on what I could possibly add to make it feel a bit more robust? A class that stands on its own? Well, what do we think? Let's see. Raid LC says, "We ran Barrow Maze for almost a year during the main thrust of the pandemic. Using my set of hardcore 5e, lost a ton of hirelings and henchmen, and had a lot of brutal injuries, but no TPK. The campaign did come to a halt when the main fighter powerhouse died from overconfidence. We run combat as war, not as sport for sure." Overconfidence, yeah, that overconfidence did in one of the. I might have been a fighter. It might have been the fighter in that OSR party I was playing, and he definitely waded into the combat with a lot more confidence than he should have had, and paid the price. So I like this idea of the pig-faced orcs. Just looking at these 2 abilities, I think if I was gonna, trying to dial this in with kind of OSR stuff, right? I like the idea of the smell, and I like the Iron Stomach, but I feel like the Iron Stomach is really just a bonus to save versus poisons. To me, that just makes sense. If you just get a bonus if you're saving versus against the poison, but maybe specifically poisons and not venoms, or you could just say poisons. I don't know if pigs are better off eating that one. And you could probably set something like, hey, if you're ingesting it as opposed to it being bitten into your bloodstream, if you've ingested a poison, then make a save. That would probably be the easiest way to do that. Smell sense is good. I don't know if I'd want it to be used for everything under the sun, because they're not super creatures. I mean, yeah, they got a sense of smell, but I'm sure people have fooled pigs before. I don't know, but I'm guessing the pigs are smart. Yeah, they're smart for animals, but they're not like crazy, hyper intelligent mice. But maybe I'll look at kind of what's one of the elf bonuses that they get. And you could kind of do something like that. Like, hey, they get a +1 versus getting surprised because they could smell things. And maybe they get a better save versus, I don't know, some kind of deceptions. That might be what I would do. What do you guys think of pig-faced orcs as classes? I'll be curious to see what these comments are. Bazzer Hoskins said, "Oh, pig-faced +1 to pig, -1 to face. Wah, wah, wah." Religion NC said, "From the BX rules for orcs, leaders gain +1 damage modifier and add 2 to the morale for groups of orcs. These seem like great class abilities. I would also consider some sort of bully ability to increase the number of lesser humanoid retainers. Smell sense seems reasonable." Then we got some comments to that one. Someone says, "Change the number of henchmen from head count to hit die total. So if you can have 4 henchmen, you can have 4 that are 1 hit die each, or 4 that are half a hit die each." Or I think maybe they mean 8. Let's see. Klaveshi loves the Iron Stomach thing. Someone put the ability to keep secrets, but that's a link that I shall not open. Orcs of Thar was for basic D&D and had some PC options. Yeah, I forgot about that. That one I've been meaning to try to find on the secondary market somewhere, Orcs of Thar. LC says, "Pig-faced orcs are definitely old school." Yes, they are. I'm not seeing some really amazing stuff here. Honestly, I don't think anything is really any better than those 2 abilities that the guy came up with himself. But I like the idea. Pig-faced orcs making a comeback. Up.